Kimberly Flores with the Salt Lake Chamber. And this month, the Salt Lake Chamber is celebrating Women's History Month, a time to highlight the contributions of women in history and those local leaders of today. And throughout the month of March, we're sitting down with female leaders who are making a difference with Utah business and in their local community. And today I have the pleasure to be joined by Mayor Michelle Kaufusi. Mayor Kaufusi, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So January, you made history when you became the first ever female mayor of Provo.
It's just crazy.
What does that accomplishment mean to you?
Well, it just, I remember my daughter saying, the glass ceiling has been shattered.
Yeah.
And I thought, I guess it has, because I didn't run my campaign on being a female. I ran it on the most qualified. Who's the most qualified out of the 10 people in the
10,
primary?
10.
But as it kind of the momentum built and it looked good and looked like we were going to walk away with a win, it was just the excitement, and I don't think I underestimated it, actually.
Okay, for yourself?
For myself. The community was huge, and I just kind of thought, yeah, so I'm the first female, but I've got a lot of work to do. Sure. That's kind of where my mind kept going, was that's great, but I got to get to work. We had a unique situation because Congressman Curtis won that same night.
Yes.
And so he flew out the next day.
Yeah.
So I actually started the next day and missed my 3 months of job shadow that every other mayor gets.
Right.
So
you're kind of behind the 8 ball in a sense.
I had to just jump in and get going.
And how has that gone?
It's been fantastic. It's been so good. I think at first I have 7 men as my city council, and we are a strong mayor government. I just think at first maybe they didn't quite know what to do with me because they had never had a female sit at the head of the table with 14 men. And anyways, they would be like, what is all this racket, Mayor? And I would tell them, it's called women. We talk, we work, we get a lot done.
Right.
So they're figuring it out, and I'm figuring it out. And one of my first appointees was I appointed the first female director.
Wonderful.
Provo Director of Customer Service.
Wonderful.
Provo has never had a female director as well. So it's kind of nice, at least in my director's meeting, I'm not the only one in the room.
Which is, like you said, which is a change. I've read a few interviews that you've done in which you've stated that Provo was ready for a woman mayor.
They were ready.
What do we have to be ready for?
I know, isn't that an interesting statement?
Right.
Yeah, I just think, I think it was meant to be because Mayor Curtis was very engaging and charismatic, and I just couldn't see a male coming in and filling his shoes. You wouldn't be able to. And just the rift in the city, there was some contention and things that only a woman has the talents to mend bridges and to listen and to heal and nurture. And honestly, the city was right to that point where it needed someone that can come in and be a bridge builder and have fresh relationships and have fresh eyes.
Now, I know it's only been a few months, but have you shown some of that to your male colleagues and counterparts now?
Every day. They see it every day. I mean, we interact every day from 7 till 7. And they're figuring it out. Yeah. There's the ego in the room when I walk in. I have to immediately deflate that. And and we're just all here to do what's best for the city of Provo, for our constituents.
Some of the other women that I've spoken with, we talk about this idea of self-doubt, and that too many women, professional women will say, you know what, I'm not ready for that job. I don't have all of the qualifications, so I'm not going to go for it. Did you feel any of that, and how did you get over it?
Through my whole career, I have had those those little moments of weakness, where I think I'm underqualified, or what have I got myself into, and this is too much work, and you have to put yourself out there and be very vulnerable, and a lot of women don't like that, and so they tend to shy away from it. But if not me, then who? And if not good people, we're going to get bad people in our leadership, and that's what we don't want. So you have to be brave. You have to go out there, and sure, you have a target on your back, and yes, it'll be the worst year of your life to run your campaign, but you just keep waking up every morning and keep going and just count down till the election.
Did you know it was going to be that difficult? How did you prepare yourself, or what were some of the obstacles you needed to overcome?
Well, this was my third election. I've never lost, so I was preparing how to be a loser, just in case. But this was a big campaign. Provo is actively engaged. It's a unique community. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of everything. It's got 2 universities, BYU and UVU at the other end, kind of as bookends. So you have that population. Mm-hmm. We have a demographic that isn't very... we have a huge demographic of ESL. English is their second language. And when I started, I knew I needed a year, mm-hmm. because in order to run this campaign, I do better with people when I'm face to face. And so that's the first thing we did, was blew up a huge map of the whole city. And we started attacking neighborhoods, literally me being dropped off and picking me up in 3 hours. And
knocking on doors,
the old-fashioned way. And people really responded well. Mm. They were so impressed with the willingness of me to come and spend, months. It literally took months to get through the city, but I really wanted to show that I'm taking this serious. I was still on the Board of Public Education at the time, mm-hmm. so trying to balance and mm-hmm. not look like a slacker in that political seat, but so it was, that was my favorite part, actually.
Yeah. And what did you hear from your constituents?
So it was so interesting. They're the different demographics. So I got asked questions that I'm sure a male would never get asked. I got asked, do you have your degree? And I thought, wow, but thank heavens, yes, I have a Bachelor's of Science from Brigham University with the emphasis on global studies, so I can answer that one. I got asked multiple times, do I have any children at home? Which was just kind of, even, when you're in campaign mode, you're a pleaser, yes. But I have a little bit of Spitfire in me, so it kind of rubbed me wrong, because I knew that none of the men I was running against were going to ask that question. But, you just answer it, and my youngest are 21, they're a set of twins, and questions like that.
And yet, obviously, you were elected mayor, so you know that there is a transition happening.
Yes.
What do you attribute that to?
I just think it's bigger than us. I really do. It's bigger than Provo. It's bigger than Salt Lake. It's bigger than Utah. It's just the climate of politics right now is just really hard and negative, and the level of civility is really low right now in politics. And so I think people were looking for someone that's real. Like, I'm not out there trying to be a male politician. I'm just me. Mm-hmm. And this is my story. I was born and raised in Provo, came from a really poor background, had to fight my way through life and pay my way through life, which is unique to politicians. A lot of politicians kind of, they follow in the footsteps of their fathers or whatnot, but I was a pioneer. I just kind of thought, this is where my passion is, to fight for the less served. Mm-hmm. And so, because I was that person.
Yeah. So what do you hope during your tenure for the city of Provo?
Wow, we have got so many fantastic things coming. We are we're actually looking at everything with fresh eyes. Every department, economic development, is going to be huge. I'm meeting with people that were, kind of hesitant because of some previous relationships, and that's why it's so great that you come in for a couple terms and then you go out. Yep. So that you let someone else come in with fresh eyes. Economic development's huge focus. Strong neighborhoods. Provo's known for its strong neighborhoods. So we're going to protect those, but yet bring them along. We have a great startup and entrepreneurship. We lead out in the country, and so we're trying to do some mixed housing and make it so that not only are we known as the startup, but people will stay and run their business. They won't outgrow us.
Yeah.
And we have a huge group of professionals, young professionals, that are so valued. Mm-hmm. And I think they have felt not valued, and kind of like the neighborhoods don't like us, but my big push is to let them know how much we need them and encourage them to stay. So there's a lot. I mean, there's just a lot coming down the pipe.
You've got 2 universities there. It'd be nice to keep them there after
That's
graduation.
the goal. That is the goal.
Let's talk a little bit more about you and your personal life. What is becoming mayor your biggest accomplishment in your career, or what has it been?
Wow, it's pretty significant. I don't know if it's my biggest. I mean, I fundraised and built a playground for my girlfriend and her family that got killed in an airplane. I mean, that was that was so rewarding for me. Being mayor is so rewarding. When it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad.
Sure.
But when I get those little glimpses of greatness and that we're making a change and we are moving in the right direction, it's good. So I guess I would say, although I'm a constant will work for free person.
Which women are, and you got to
Which
watch out for that.
My
Goes
husband
back to value.
I know, he keeps telling me we could be retired sitting in Maui if you would ever have collected a paycheck for all your hours of service. But I really get my fulfillment from service, and
That's wonderful.
so I'm not sure which. I've done so many.
That's great.
I'm not sure what is my crowning jewel. It may not have even happened yet. Who knows? But being mayor is significant.
It absolutely is. And I love bringing women on to talk a little bit about their career and their trajectory and their rise in their career.
Yes.
So other young women have something that they can model after. So tell us what's the story and your rise to mayor?
So I have, like I said, I can't sit still. I'm better if I have 10 things on my plate than 2. I have 5 children. We're super busy, but prior to, even when I was young, I mean, I started cleaning the neighbors' homes at age 11 and babysitting, and then I lied about my first job. I said I was 16 and I was only 15, but my mom was a single mom, and by age 11, everyone there were 7 of us. We were all expected to contribute, and so I knew I needed to get a more equitable job. And so anyways, just working my way and constantly standing up for the underdog, because I was the kid on free and reduced lunch all through my growing up years, and had to pay for everything. Nothing came easy for me or my siblings. We were hard workers and learned the value of hard work by just watching our mother. But as I became a mom, I just thought, I love my kids so much, I kind of want to be where they are. So I immediately would go down to the schools and volunteer, and if I saw a need, like we had a couple children that were special needs and they couldn't play and get on the playground because we weren't equipped. And so immediately, here I am, my oldest is in kindergarten, I'm like, we are going to fix this for these 2 kids. And I don't know, just kind of got myself into a lot of work. And got to where I was involved with many local government seat boards and commissions, and then a lot of school involvement, PTA president at each level, and
Wonderful.
And went to a PTA meeting, a school board meeting, and actually had an issue with how are we caring for those that can't afford to take the ACT. And so that was my topic, and I stood up and I got my 3 minutes. I said my name, I'm Michelle Kaufusi, this is my address, and this is my concern. And I sat down and and they moved right on to the next person, and I sat there and thought, wow, I got to get up in one of those 7 seats. And so that was it. That was the goal. I needed to hold a vote. So started there and was able to unseat an incumbent, and crazy.
Now, with those successes, obviously come failure. What was your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it? I think that's what's really important.
So what I've learned from my biggest failures is you can't take anything for granted. You cannot get comfortable. You have to constantly be thinking 2 steps ahead. If you get comfortable, or if you kind of take a deep breath and sit back, someone's always going to be moving forward and working harder than you. And so I've always kind of just felt like I've got to stay above. The couple times I have felt that have been devastating have been my own fault, because I've gotten too confident or too comfortable, and so you can never get too comfortable.
Complacency.
Yeah, you cannot.
Yeah.
You have to work and work hard, and as a woman, you know that you have to work almost double to compensate.
Certainly your opponents learned that from you.
Oh my gosh. I know. I would be walking and holding my shoes barefoot at night, calling someone in my family, come pick me up, I'm in this neighborhood. And they're like, Mom, you're so weird.
You're like, I'm working hard, guys, getting it done. So what's your biggest piece of advice for other young women coming up, the other young professionals?
So my biggest piece of advice is to follow follow what's in your heart, and it will direct you. I mean, your passion will pull you if you'll let it. And that's kind of what I've been telling is, even though I felt so drawn to run for mayor, and I was fighting it, I didn't want to, I was coming up with I still had another year on the Board of Education and on the Board of Trustees. Why do I need to do this? But there was just that pull of, because you can make a difference and it's your time. So get your butt out there and start working.
Yes. So another strength that women, we used to think that maybe a big heart or following our intuition was something that we had to put aside if we wanted to get into non-traditional roles. But certainly these are assets that we all need to embrace.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, the buy-in from my fellow workers that tend to be all men, the buy-in is huge when they realize I'm not here to have a chip on my shoulder. I'm just here to work with you and do what's best for the city. And once they kind of sense that calming, because they are a little bit nervous at first because they just don't know what to do with me. Sure. But once they settle in and see that I'm just here to work with you and alongside you, and they really, the buy-in is huge, and the loyalty. Once you get the buy-in and the loyalty, you can do anything.
Well, Mayor Kaufusi, we are excited to see what you're going to do.
So am I. I'm so excited.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes.